welcome back to Soulful Wahine. As I mentioned at the end of last week's episode, today we're going to be talking about safety. I thought it was important for us to talk about the topic of safety because honestly, when we talk about things such as healing, growth, or even just being consistent, we rarely touch on safety. And I'm not just talking about physical safety, but I'm also talking about emotional safety and nervous system safety. I want to take some time to talk about what it actually means to relearn safety. If you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things, but for whatever reason, your body still feels tense, guarded, or on edge, this episode is for you. I specifically wanted to piggyback off of a few episodes ago where I talked about toxic love and grief. And I wanted to piggyback specifically off of those two episodes because after we leave something toxic or after we lose a loved one, the world doesn't just go back to feeling calm again. And you can be out of chaos and still flinch at things that are meant to make you feel calm. Today's episode is about rebuilding what trauma stole first, and that's trust. Especially the trust that we lose in ourselves. Because before you can believe and trust that no one is going to hurt you again, you have to believe that you will show up and protect yourself this time. As I've mentioned before, folks, when we've been through pain, when we've experienced trauma, our body does not automatically feel safe because the situation is over. The fear, the thoughts, the hesitation, the self-doubt that we experience, it still lingers within our bodies. And this part of healing is about relearning what safety feels like within our own bodies. Okay? It's about rebuilding that trust with yourself slowly, gently, and honestly. And it's a reminder that you're not broken for struggling, but rather you're simply remembering how to come home to yourself again. And so, as always, if at any point that this conversation becomes too heavy or, things are just resonating maybe a little too deep, take some time, do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, okay? Because that's what matters most. What does safety really mean? Safety is not distance from pain, okay? But rather, it's the ability to exist without bracing for it. It's a nervous system that believes I can handle what comes at me. It's making choices without apologizing for them. And the kicker is, real safety lives inside of you, not in people, not in circumstances, but in your ability to stay anchored when life shifts. I want to talk about now how pain can disconnect us from ourselves. Okay? Because pain trains our body to expect betrayal. So we start to second guess the signals that are meant to protect us. The gut feeling, the tension, the sudden quiet. We start to second guess those. Instead of listening to those signs, we second guess them. We don't trust them. We can over-explain instead of just walking away. We begin to rationalize red flags, and relearning safety starts when you decide and recognize that our bodies are not the enemy, but rather they're the witness to our pain and to the traumas that we've been through. Okay? Now, I want us to take some time to reflect together on a few things. If you want to journal these, go right ahead. But if you kind of just want to sit with them and think about the answers, that's cool too. First question. How many times have you explained someone's behavior instead of honoring the way that it made you feel? Second question. Who would you be today if, You didn't second guess yourself so much. Third question, in moments when your body gives you a warning, so things such as that gut feeling, that tightness, that shift, do you listen to it or do you explain it away? And why? Fourth question, is your hesitation in relationships based off of who's in front of you or on something that your nervous system has not healed from yet? Go ahead and sit with those for a second. Take some time, just reflect. I now want to shift into talking about the cost of not trusting ourselves, okay? Because when we stop trusting ourselves, we begin to outsource authority to everyone that's around us. Meaning, when we stop trusting our own reality, when we stop trusting our own voice and our own things, we are going to seek it out from everyone else around us. You begin asking for signs instead of making decisions. You chase validation to soothe any uncertain feelings. You might silence your intuition to keep the peace. And every time that you do these things, the distance between who you are and who you perform to be grows wider. And over time, that gap breeds nothing but anxiety and worry. Okay? So just something to think about. As you all have heard me mention, when we go through something traumatic, it gets stored within our bodies. And after chronic stress or heartbreak, your body keeps scanning for danger, even in moments of safety. And that's why sometimes for some of us, calm can feel foreign, and why we tend to wait for, the shoe to drop, or we're waiting for some type of catch to happen. And as I've said before, healing isn't just mind work. It's reteaching your body that not every quiet moment is the start of some huge storm. And so now I just want to quickly go over some somatic practices that I use with myself and with clients. So first somatic practice that I like to teach is hand over heart breathing. Helps our bodies to shift out of fight or flight and into regulation. So go ahead, place one hand on your heart and another hand on your lower belly. Once you have those two in place, go ahead and slowly inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds, and then go ahead and repeat this for about 5 to 7 times. This exercise specifically teaches your body that calm does not mean danger. It can mean rest. It can mean reset. Second exercise is the somatic shake. So the somatic shake releases that fight or flight energy that your body never got to process. Animals naturally shake after stress, while humans tend to suppress it. So if you've ever seen your dog kind of shake things off after, an interaction with another dog or another human, same thing, okay? Stand or sit and go ahead and just gently shake your hands, arms, and legs for about 10 to 20 seconds. Let your body move how it wants to, okay? And once you're done, try to pause and notice the shift. Is there any warmth? Is there any feelings of tingliness going on? What does your breathing sound like? This helps your body to complete the stress cycle instead of carrying it with you. Next one is butterfly tapping. So some bilateral stimulation helps to calm the nervous system and also bring us back into our bodies without forcing deep breathing or big movements. So what you want to go ahead and do for butterfly tapping is you want to go ahead and cross your arms across your chest, almost like you're giving yourself a hug. Once you do that, you can either rest your fingers at the top of your shoulders or on your collarbones, totally whatever's comfortable for you. And from there, you want to just start to lightly tap. Left, right, left, right. Okay? Left, right. You want to keep the rhythm steady. And if you're able to, try to let your eyes soften or even close them if you feel safe enough to do so. And go ahead and just do that as long as you need to. Okay? Because as you're tapping, you're helping your brain to process the sensation in a balanced way. So you're reminding your body that you are here, you are safe enough, and that it is okay to take a moment to do that. Why does butterfly tapping work, or bilateral stimulation? Why does that work? Well, bilateral stimulation, it engages both sides of the brain. And the butterfly tapping helps to reduce hyperarousal without forcing the relaxation. And it helps separate past threat from present moment. So this practice is especially powerful for when your mind is racing or if your body feels really, really tense. Butterfly tapping allows your body to feel settled without needing to sit still, meditate, or take deep breaths. And me personally, that's why it works. That's why I love it. I struggle with meditating. I struggle with journaling. A lot of the mindfulness activities that are used to ground or, cope in moments of intense emotions, I do not respond well to them. And so once I found butterfly tapping, oh yeah, you can bet your ass I was a big fan of it. How do we begin to reconnect with our bodies? Because again, we're not, like I said earlier, healing is not just a mindset. It's not just, talking these things out. No, healing is a mind-body practice. So how do we reconnect to our body? We can start with naming sensations, so things such as my chest feels tight or my throat feels restricted. We can learn to anchor through breathing or texture. So again, that butterfly tapping, things like that. And over time, we can begin to replace I'm fine with I feel tense and I recognize that I'm safe. Okay? Because again, the goal isn't to stop feeling, but rather it's to feel without spiraling. And every time that we do a little small check in with ourselves, it helps to reestablish and build trust. Now, let's talk about rebuilding self-trust. So, some ways that we can do that is keep one small promise to yourself daily. Show your brain that you follow through. So, for example, if you're going to tell yourself that, tonight you're going to make dinner at 6:30 instead of 8 o'clock, follow through with it. Do it. Keep that promise to yourself. Another way we can rebuild self-trust is to stop over-explaining our own boundaries. We can clarify, but we don't need to justify our boundaries. Okay? Tell the truth faster, even when it shakes things up. And lastly, forgive slowly and only when trust has been re-earned. One thing I want to throw out there, I'm sure all of us know this, but it's just good to say, trust isn't something that just happens and builds overnight. It's something that's built by time and consistency. And that includes self-trust. So while we're on this journey, as always, remember to show yourself grace and compassion. Here are some signs that you're starting to feel safe again with yourself. You stop rehearsing every outcome before speaking or before sharing, your thoughts and feelings. Silence begins to feel restful for you, not threatening anymore. You don't need chaos to feel alive. And you believe your intuition, even if it inconveniences someone else. Safety can look subtle, but it definitely feels revolutionary over time the more that we grow it. Whenever fear begins to creep back in, because healing doesn't erase fear, really honestly, it just teaches us how to meet it. And so anytime that fear or panic creeps back in, try to whisper to yourself, like, hey, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but we're okay right now, or reminding yourself that self-soothing isn't weakness. It's nervous system safety. You are parenting the parts of you that once had no protector. So again, if there's moments where there's fear, uncertainty, or doubt that creeps in, instead of shaming ourselves for feeling that way, no. Let's try to meet it with compassion. Let's try to meet it with understanding. Like I said, tell that part of ourselves, like, hey, thank you for showing up and for trying to keep me safe. But right now, we're okay. We don't need to be fearful. We don't need to be panicked. Does that make sense? I want to reiterate that boundaries are really just safety in action, in my personal opinion. Boundaries are not rejection, they're regulation. Boundaries teach people how to show up for you and how to operate with you. And I love boundaries because they let love exist without chaos. Meaning, every time you honor a limit, every time you honor a boundary of yours, you are telling yourself, you are telling your body, I will choose you this time and I see you. And over time, that repetition is how we begin to build safety again. And I want to throw this out there, quick reminder. Anyone who is upset with you for setting boundaries or having boundaries is only upset because of the simple fact that they benefited from you having none. Let that sink in for a bit. This is a question that I get a lot from my clients is, well, now that we've talked about all of this, Kehaulani, how do I begin to rebuild safety and trust for myself when it comes to love and relationships? And I'm going to throw it out there that you do not rebuild safety by isolating forever. No. You do not rebuild safety by staying alone and staying away from people. You do it by choosing partners, friends, and spaces that let you practice self-trust in real time. Meaning, you let people meet you at your new pace. Love that respects your boundaries becomes part of your healing, not a threat to it. I want to throw out some grounding rituals to re-anchor. I recognize that today's topic can just stir up some emotions, stir up some thoughts. And so if you're needing any, grounding techniques, here are a few. Start your morning off with a body scan, so try to notice what you're feeling, any sensations, any physical sensations before we start our day. Second one is box breathing. Box breathing is when we inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Essentially like a little box. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And just repeat. Number 3, name 5 things that feel stable right now. And number 4, a touchstone. So a scent, texture, or song that signals safety to you. Because repetition over time is going to make your body believe the words that your mind tells it. Okay? Some journal prompts for those who want it. First one, where do I still override my intuition to avoid discomfort? Second one, what does genuine safety feel like? Not look like in my body. So again, what does genuine safety feel like in my body? Number 3, which boundaries of mine rebuild my peace the fastest? And lastly, number 4, how can I remind myself that slow is okay and safe? Some affirmations for all of you. My calm is not boredom, it's safety. I can trust my own timing. I am the protector that I once needed. Peace is not a threat to passion. Read them out loud until they begin to sound like memory. These affirmations that I give you, folks, if affirmations really do resonate and work for you, I really want you to be practicing them. Okay? Because the more that we tell our mind these things, the easier it's going to be for it to believe it over time. And as always, I try to leave you folks with a book recommendation that's relevant to today's topic. And so I want to offer this gentle resource for anyone who wants to sit with this idea of safety for a little longer. There's a book called In an Unspoken Voice by Peter Levine. Me personally, what I appreciate about his work is that he doesn't frame trauma as something that is wrong with us, but rather he talks about it as something that is like an unfinished survival response that we have held onto in our bodies. And if relearning safety feels confusing or even slow for you, this book can help you to understand why. And it can help you to soften yourself and your view towards yourself in the process. As we close out, I just want to reflect on a few things with you all. You have survived things that have made you question yourself. Now, the assignment is different. The assignment is rebuild the relationship with you, the version of yourself who kept showing up throughout the chaos, the one who stayed when everyone else left, the one who carried the weight, made the hard choices, and still found ways to care and show up. She deserves trust. She deserves compassion. She deserves to rest in safety now. And safety, again, is not something for you to find in another person. It is something that you recreate within yourself. One honest decision at a time. If this episode resonated with you, let's have a conversation about it. Come find me on my socials and connect with me there. Remember, extend grace and compassion whenever you can. And until next time, sis, mahalo and aloha.